Hey there, Rick Sage, recording at the Rimrock Studios in Bishop, California. Welcome to Season 2 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where I speak with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz and share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks, and ideas you can use to take your career or business to the next level. Today's episode is brought to you in part by the Something About Nothing podcast. Think the Seinfeld show meets your favorite morning show. It's a few regular folks from outside Seattle, Washington, talking around the table about sports, the news of the day, and the absurdity of life. Something About Nothing is an entertaining variety show that covers all the stuff you want to talk about but aren't supposed to. Available wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify. Check it out today. Just search SOMETHIN about NOTHIN. You won't believe how fun listening to a show about nothing can be. I think you will enjoy my conversation with one of my longtime outdoor industry buds, Jan Greenspan, on the show today. Jan tells us how he got into the outdoors through scouting, his time with Sequel, Retail Concepts, and how Nite Ize comes up with all their great accessories. Enjoy. Hey, Jan, welcome to the show. Good to speak with you today.
Yeah, likewise, Rick. I appreciate the chance to visit with you.
Yeah, glad to catch up. I saw you at OR. You guys were busy as usual.
We like it that way, as does everyone, right?
Yeah, right.
And I think the energy in a new location, a new city, and at a time in the industry when we needed some freshness at an industry level came all at the right time, I felt.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be good to go back in the summer. I think it's going to be even better in the summer. Get a little more outside stuff, right?
For sure, yes.
And that's close for you guys, right? You can sleep at home at night.
Finally, right? I was trying, like all of us, trying to count up the number of ORs, and you get into 50 plus shows, and you go like, wow, that's a lot of days away from home twice a year.
Yeah, it's just for shows, not including all the other travel, right?
Right, just for the outdoor show.
Yeah. And
you start putting that together, and you go like, wow, okay, I'm going to get a few weeks back a year.
Yeah, right.
Being at home. The funny thing is, even for those shows, though, if you connect with folks or you're out entertaining or whatever, it's still a late night.
Always.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is a chance still to kind of collect. And I'll tell you what, for Colorado manufacturers that are in the area, it saves a ton of money for drayage and housing and personnel. We can bring a lot of folks from our company.
I didn't think about that, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing we're really big on is all of the folks behind the scene that make it happen. Mm-hmm. Operations, shipping, production. We gave them a chance to go over to the show and walk around, for a few hours, and they could probably put it together of like, this is what we've been doing. This is what a big show looks like.
Yeah.
And
gives them a different level of perspective. Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Totally does. Right? Yeah. Totally does. And those are the unsung heroes, right?
Exactly.
That make all the companies actually work.
Right. Wasn't for them, we would all be stumbling and bumbling.
Well, yeah.
We do our own anyway, but yeah.
Right. I say yes, and they actually make it happen. Yeah. Right. It's pretty impressive.
So what was your first introduction to the outdoors? How did you get into the outdoor world?
It was totally, I would say, perhaps a traditional track. It was through scouting.
Oh, okay.
We had I lived near a school grounds that had a troop, Troop 222 in Beaumont, Texas.
Okay.
And a really together scouting group, great scoutmaster, Mr. Howell.
Nice.
And I will tell you, that is what set me on course. My father, great influence on me, but was not an outdoorsman per se.
Okay.
And so through the scouting groups, really gave me a chance to get outdoors and experience, building my first campsite and tents and fires and things like that.
Did you go all the way? Did you make it all the way to Eagle Scout?
I did not. Okay. I made it to life. And I'll tell you what happened was, I mentioned this scoutmaster, Mr. Howell. He and his son was 4 years older than I am, a friend of my sister's actually.
Okay.
And he made it to Eagle, and then afterwards, Mr. Howell moved on, and rightfully so. This happens. But he was so influential, and not that there was anything wrong with new leadership in the troop. it just didn't feel the same. And I unfortunately lost interest. It's I would say one of my few regrets, right? In looking back. It was, scouting has a great spot in our world out here. And, and I'm sorry that, I didn't quite make it. I sure would have liked to.
There's many folks that did. I didn't either. I made it all the way to Webelos, and then I discovered sports, and it was off to the races.
Right on.
Yeah. So what was your first outdoor job? Your traditional, did you work retail first?
I worked a little retail, but nothing, in Texas, especially in my little town of Beaumont, there wasn't any specialty shops to speak of. Right. I would say, honestly, my first real job was at Sequel Software down in Durango. Okay. Back in the day, I worked with Jeremiah St. Hours, and came on as a sales manager, and kind of out of the pan into the fire. Sort of experience, very traditional, kind of get out there. We made, he made technical clothing, gore and certainly Malden fleece. Okay. Totally cutting edge, had some of the best hood designs in the business. He called it Sequel because his idea was to be kind of that next step to what, traditional brands like Patagonia or Marmot were doing back in the time. Odyssey was breaking up, at that time period. This is super early 90s. And we built some great stuff. The challenge was we were a small company. We had great following, especially for accessories. And we just couldn't build it fast enough. You miss a couple of times with a big company, like an REI or someone, and you go, gosh, you're putting it at risk, and we love your stuff.
Yeah, that's really hard for a small brand to get started tough. Too. Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah, and then from there,
but great following.
Yeah, you guys. I remember that brand. Yeah, and from there you went on to Retail Concepts. Is that the path?
It's an interesting connection. We were at a show. Back in the days of Reno, and Retail Concepts, they traded Sun and Ski. Came in, I pitched them, and I just made a connection with the owner there, Barry Goldware, and he followed up with me, and I got a chance to go from the manufacturing side over to the buying side. Right. And at the time, Sun and Ski Retail they were not in the outdoor trade really. Right. They were struggling at best in that category. They were a snow sports, retailer and destination at that. And anyway, I came down and over my tenure there, I was there, 8 or 9 years.
Yeah, you were there a long time. Yeah.
I was, and I'll tell you, very, very proud of where I started with them, but also really where I finished. We became a very significant, presence of some major brands. That
you were one of the top Eagle Creek accounts. I remember that. Yeah,
at Eagle Creek, and at the time out of Texas, we were the fourth largest North Face dealer in the U.S. out of Texas. And that, of course, led to all sorts of connections, as being in that kind of exposure and whatnot. And really a great run. I had a great run there. Yeah. But, those things always come to an end. There really wasn't anywhere for me to go. I'd kind of bought and sold and done those things. So sure enough, in my courses of going to the shows, I ran into Rick Case at Nite Ize.
Okay, so I was wondering if that was the next connection.
That was really the connection. Was from Ski over to Rick, and what was cool was he and I met at a SHOT Show. He had I think he had 1 or 2 products at the time. And,
they were. I was there. I don't remember them in the beginning. But man, they sure have exploded.
Well, he had the headband, right? So
that's right. Yeah.
He made a headband for Maglite. That was his first big patent. Yeah. And I called him. That's where he called me. He was dressed to the nines, sharp dresser at SHOT Show, coat and tie, and I was rushing off to an appointment. He hooked me in the aisle, and quickly figured out I was buying for 14 or 18 stores at Sun and Ski. And he said, wow, okay. So let me show you the line.
Oh, cool.
Said, okay. So he pulled me into the 10 by 10 there. He puts up these boards. He didn't have an elaborate booth. He put up these boards and he had 24 colors of webbing. The old Teva webbing. He's buying it. He's buying secondary market at the time because he didn't have a lot of volume yet. Yeah. And he bought this. He said, yeah, man, I make these headbands and you can pick any color you want. And, I'll tell you, it got my attention.
Well, that was pretty impressive back then because
it really was,
being able to choose a color as opposed to, just get the color. This is what you get.
Go. That was his hook, right?
Yeah,
right. I'm going to deliver anything you want. And,
that's great.
So anyway, that was the connection. And I didn't move right away. Things were really pretty good for me at Sun and Ski. And, and I was kind of at top of the class there and had a great run. I did some giant trips with North Face all over the world. And, so it was good. And, I know you were traveling at that time too.
Yeah, exactly.
Doing some big trips. So anyway, Rick and I stayed in touch. And over the next couple of few years, he said, man, I'd love the chance to work with you. And I said, and sell headbands, I guess. There wasn't a lot of activity or the company was small.
Right.
There were maybe 12, 14 permanent employees, and then we had seasonal folks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's been a hell of a run.
Yeah, and you guys make some of the coolest accessories. Where do all those ideas come from? They come from Rick?
They absolutely do, as well as others in the company. I'll tell you what we do. We listen really closely to our customers.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm.
And people tell you what they want.
They do. Yeah.
They tell you, and hats off to Rick for trying some things. Not everything works, right? But you try some stuff, and the stuff that does work, when you take it back to the folks that steered you in that direction, they're like, right on, man. I'm going to tell the other folks about you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's really, honestly, Rick, that's where it came from. We listen to folks. We also are really big and have been for a long time. If someone calls or pulls us aside at the booth and says, "Hey, I have an idea," we pause and we pay attention to them.
That's great. Yeah, listen to the customers again. Yeah,
listen to the customers and listen to the inventors. Right. So there's people that make a great one-off product,
right?
But getting it to market, it's tough.
Well, that's a whole different skill set. Yeah. I mean, you know as well as I do. That's, you can come up with a cool thing, but getting it made, getting enough of them, just getting samples made is a whole other skill set. So.
It's tough. So one of the criteria, people contacted us all the time, especially in the early days, and we'd call them right back. So, wow, I've called a lot of people. No one's called me back.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And well, what do you got? First question is, man, is it patented? We don't want to talk to you. We don't want to pursue it. Yeah, we're in the business of making things.
Yeah, right.
And we respect that. If you had a great idea, make sure it's protected.
Mm-hmm. And what percentage of guys do that? Take that step? Would you say half of them do, or most of them don't?
The ones that are serious, obviously, are doing it. It's a commitment. It's a commitment. Yeah. Sometimes it's a line of credit on the house. It's the savings they had. It's a commitment. And then the people that are really, we love it. You can tell the spark in these inventors, and it's cool. I mean, that's one of the joys of certainly what I've experienced at Nite Ize. I've been there coming on to 20 years now.
Wow, geez, it's been that long. Good for you.
So been in my 18th year now.
Good for you. Congratulations. So what are some of the accomplishments you're most proud of? Is it the product side? I mean, you guys have some great people too,
Thank you. I would tell you we're very proud of the products.
Mm-hmm.
But products are going to come and go over the years.
Yeah.
You know that. And what it really comes down to are the people. Nite Ize is really emulated out of the spirit of what Rick does and who he is and how he operates. And I will tell you, since coming on, I just tried to emulate what his vision and dream was.
Mm-hmm.
and in doing that, I think we attracted other people to that flame.
Right.
And I would say that's absolutely one of the accomplishments is, attracting the people, and then also how you deal with people, customers.
Yeah.
You always try to take the high road. It's not always pretty, there's things that happen along the way of, mischiefs or shoot, the product doesn't sell through, and
exactly.
they always put the burden back on the manufacturer.
Right. That's awesome.
How you deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you maintain your integrity and take care
That's
of everybody.
What it is.
And,
that's what it is.
That's great.
And it, to me, I think we've tried to do that every step of the way, be it certainly in the manufacturing process, but also how you treat folks and ultimately how they respond in kind.
Yeah. How about some of the biggest challenges? Has it been? Obviously, growth creates a whole set of challenges, right?
It is, man. Oh gosh, it is. The exciting part is not being stuck in time, right?
Right.
But using that experience along the way to help guide you to where you want to go, right?
Right.
And constantly, if you check back on your experiences, your instincts often tell you what to do, where to go.
Yeah.
But the challenge is honestly where Nite Ize has been is early on is for folks to recognize it as a category.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Part of that was our own fault, right? We were totally scattered. We had lots of stuff. Mm-hmm. We weren't telling a good story.
You almost had to categorize the products within the accessory category for everybody, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but we were bringing products that didn't fit into some of the categories.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and so over time, we matured into that as we developed more products within a category. And, I would say that's definitely been a challenge. It's, we're very accessible, which is cool, but a lot of people are they don't want to take a risk. And what's funny is there's no money in it.
Yeah.
You and I knew each other through Eagle Creek, and I think, I still use your bags, right? When I'm traveling.
They're awesome.
From the days, right? Yeah. But the cost of one of those bags is like a complete assortment of our little stuff.
Right. Well, we went through that at Eagle Creek with the whole the accessory fixture, right?
Yes.
The passport carriers and the wallets, and Connie McDonald was one of the great instigators in creating that merchandising program with the fixture. The packaging was different for each of the subcategories, and
Well, and now you're talking about where we've matured into is that the challenge, if you will, and this is part of a message really is the challenges that you're faced with become, provided you address them and learn from them, become the path which really leads to your growth, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you talk about exactly where she was in developing, okay, hey, we've got all this cool stuff. It's durable. We have a trusted brand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do we get this? Hey, how about a display program?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what we've done.
Perfect.
And so now, honestly, we're selling space more so than items. For years we sold items and people totally appreciated and supported them. And now we have a space and we've created our own category. And it's exciting. It's really exciting.
Yeah, well, it's exciting to see when a retailer embraces that stuff, those products, that assortment, and it's just, and you get the fixture in there, and it's almost like an annuity, right? It just turns and turns and turns and turns, and they look at it and go, "Wow, you guys are brilliant."
Well, and it's a partnership for sure.
Exactly, sure.
Because you have to take the leap of faith that there's that it will work out. And really what everyone wants to have the discussion on, and we try to have it up front, is, hey, if it's working, you will keep ordering. Okay? And if it's not working, we're going to talk about it.
Right.
And we're going to resolve it. And oh, by the way, it's not that much money between us if it doesn't work. So but those are, I would say, really hand in hand, some of the accomplishments as well as some of the challenges, right?
That's great. Yeah.
Along the way.
Have you had any mentors along the way to help you and guide you?
There have been. I would say there's a couple of people, and early in my, I would say early at Sequel, there were folks like, we were manufacturing. So, someone like Dan Madden at Gore,
all right.
We bought materials from him, and, he's a neighbor of mine now.
Oh, cool.
Outside of Boulder. And, it's cool to come full circle, and have people that influence you. I think at Retail Concepts, Sun and Ski, there were quite a few. Some of my first appointments were with people that I felt, again, I've always been oriented towards accessories, but Jack Carpenter, at Fox River, was just iconic. He was literally my first meeting when I was a buyer, and I'm a youngin', and I wouldn't say he had set me straight. He was calming, and we were in the midst of shortages of socks.
And
he says, "Hey, Jan, we're going to knit more of those, so don't worry," right?
Right.
As opposed to the skies falling.
Yeah, right. Let's put this all in perspective. Let's calm down a little bit.
It is. And then, I would say as we got into really big business, as I did with North Face, Al Gunter, certainly as one of the remaining, independent reps at the time, really taught me it's okay to, make buys that you don't think you're going to necessarily have the customers to support at the time. You'll create a category. And I remember when North Face reintroduced the day pack, and JanSport and Eastpak were big then. And they decided they're going to go after it. And he came to me, we were a big partner. And he says, "Man, I need you to step up." And I wouldn't say he pressed me, but he was right. And we never looked back.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
that's great.
So I would say, those guys, they're also, I listen to everybody. I mean, I pick up snippets and morsels from everybody that you're working with.
That's the beauty of this industry too. There's so many great people that are so helpful and so, calming and guiding and providing all those perspectives. It's great.
I'll tell you, one of the most satisfying moments of the last show in Denver. On the last day, I had a chance to walk around with my son, and
nice.
And it was really cool. He's 13 now.
Oh, great!
And I like connecting him to the people that I've worked with for a long time. And someone in the hall caught me. It doesn't matter at this point who it is, and they said, "Hey, Jan," introduced to my son. And he says, "Hey, I just want to pause and say thanks for giving me a shot at being a rep." And I said,
cool.
Well, what do you mean? He says, "Well, you had moved on, and some of the brands, all the brands knew who you were. And they called you, and I was trying to get Sierra Designs or, Kelty, one of the brands, and they called you, and you gave me, the support to when I was first starting out." And he says, and it's those kinds of experiences that I think are really critical to keep in mind how we're influencing people.
Yeah.
Because along the way, people influenced us, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's one big tribe. Exactly.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
And I would say, like mentor, Sally McCoy, early on, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And, trying to do stuff at Sierra Design, she said, let's try this.
Yeah.
And sure enough, led me to water. So
she's great. Yeah.
Those are really important.
Yeah. There's so many, like we said. Yeah. And tell us about some nonprofit work that you guys do or you do personally.
Very into Conservation Alliance, John Sterling. I mean, are we lucky to have a person like that in our midst?
Yeah, no kidding.
And, big picture and small picture at the same time. To me, it's a real lesson to be able to be involved with those kinds of things. We like doing things locally, so we've been able to mobilize our troops at Nite Ize on some of the cleanups and some of the things like that.
Oh, great!
So that's one of the bigger areas that we've really concentrated on.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And we see the results, man.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of times you don't know for sure what you're working towards.
Yeah, exactly.
Or to know when something has happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially these days, we're always all you see about in the news is all the negative side of it, but we are making some progress. So
we are. But it's act locally, right?
Exactly.
It's do the things every day. I mean, even at Nite Ize, we've done more initiatives in terms of conservation and recycling and upcycling. It's been cool to see it in action, but
that's great. Yeah.
It's sometimes hard to see the results. No question, we get lost in it. I mean, it's some challenging times for sure.
Yeah.
But just like we've done it with the OR show, you make a statement, you stand by it, and it's $100 million worth of revenue that's moved, and that affects a lot of folks.
Exactly, it does. Yeah. And I think you mentioned when we were scheduling this, you were skiing. What other outdoor activities do you participate in? Obviously, you still ski. That's
certainly
great.
Yeah, and I love cycling.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It's something many folks wouldn't know this, but I ran a bike messenger service in Baltimore, Maryland for years.
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
It's you say my first outdoor job. That was probably one of it. I was a dispatcher and
cool.
Got on the street occasionally, but a real education into different lifestyle.
Right.
It was fun. You were on. It was the kind of job that when you were on from 8 to 5, and then afterwards, there's just no baggage.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was
Go
a little
home
bit
and leave it, right?
But I love cycling. I've been really able to get back into backpacking, and for the last, I would say, we did a cycle of about 7 or 8 years. We did sectional hikes.
Oh, great!
On the PCT.
Oh, cool!
And I was fortunate enough to run into my tribe at REI. We're called the Steves, so it's Doug Peterson and Michael McCarty and Steve Gerken, and I was kind of the only outsider of the club because those guys have known each other forever, and they're all from Washington. So we started. They let me join them on their hikes through Washington State. So I had an amazing experience. I missed a couple of sections because they had already done them, but we finished last year. So, not quite 500 miles under my belt, but certainly 500 for those guys. And,
that's great.
And it was a great experience. So we were able to really get back to the core. And, you take anything from 5 to, let's say, 9 days, and we'd do a section. So it's really fun. Great experience being with those icons.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Yeah.
So, a lot of fun. But that's and I really enjoy walking.
Okay.
I would tell you, being in town, I travel a lot.
Yeah.
And for me to be able to get out and spend time on the street is just
sometimes some of these places you go, that's all the basic there is to do is get out and walk. So
right. And so that's been it's accessible, and you see things you just normally wouldn't run into.
Right. Yeah. And do you have any suggestions or advice for folks either wanting to get into the outdoor biz or grow their career if they're already in the biz?
I think this industry is made up of a bunch of passionate people, passionate about what they enjoy doing on a personal level, right? Of whatever that sport or activity is, from climbing to cycling or backpacking or boating. I think be true to what it is you really enjoy doing, and it will come through you, right? It becomes you. And then, honestly, I think it's through friendships. It's through putting yourself out there. that you get a chance. I think it's a pretty forgiving and inviting industry.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's got a great mix of old and young folks.
Yeah, that's the beauty.
What you're doing here, in prepping for a call, I went back and listened to a lot of the podcasts.
Oh, cool, thanks.
And what was cool to me is that initially, look, it's like, well, I have I don't know, a normal guy like me on when you've got so many of the icons that I have looked up to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then I started looking at and listening to the folks, and it's like, oh, he's my buddy, or I worked with her, you know what I'm saying? We're all doing the same thing.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Yeah.
So to your point here about, how do you get there? Part of it is being open and willing to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In our click and buy society, it's not going to happen as fast as you'd like. If you're listening to this and want to get in the game, you got to do some time.
But it sneaks up on you, don't you think? I mean, you look back and go, "Holy cow! I've been doing this for 30 years. Wow,
30 years.
Where'd that go?
30 years, man.
Yeah.
It is fun along the way that I now get to work with Paul Gagne at Nite Ize. And Paul and I joke that between the two of us, I think we know everybody that's ever kind of just put a toe into the business. and it's those kinds of joys that honestly, I love working with someone like that, because we were learning along the way. He was my first rep at Sequel.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, him and Bill Chandler.
Oh, yeah.
Got you. Kelly Krause.
Yep. Wow.
It's, those circles of folks.
Sure.
And of course, they led me to all the other people. My first territory with those guys was going out to your haunts in California.
Okay, cool.
Was, the A16 crowd, of course, meeting all this. So my point of sharing that is that along the way, you're meeting other folks who are also learning, and know that, you're going to have to work hard, but be true to what passion you're interested in, and earn it.
Show up every day, and next thing you know, 30 years have gone by, and wow, you got a career.
And we often say, showing up is half of the
that's right,
half of the job.
Do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? Do you meditate, or obviously you must exercise a lot?
It's funny. I'll tell you what I do. I play music. I'm an acoustic guitar player.
Okay,
I've been doing it for a little bit longer than I've been in the outdoor industry.
Okay.
So I play a lot of music, cool. And my wife has been kind enough to let me collect guitars, and so I have a pile of them, and I just enjoy it. It's awesome. It's absolutely how I find my sanity in between all the rush. I really like, I would say the business is made up of people, right? And it's really about the people. Sometimes you think it's the products, and certainly we get excited about gear.
Right.
There's no question.
Right.
But
it is the people.
I'd say that's what helps me stay sane.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, those are good. That's great.
It is.
And how about books? Do you give books as gifts very often, or do you read a lot?
It's funny. I'm not a book reader.
Okay.
I tend to. I think from all of the email, from all of the articles, and just I know when I say this, you wouldn't believe it. My background is as an English lit major.
I think I saw that somewhere when I was doing a little research. Yeah.
So I don't know whether I totally got burned out on just reading, in terms of plus I don't know that I have the temperament to sit still. And one other tidbit you may not know, I don't do any caffeine.
Okay.
So when people find out I don't drink coffee, they're like, you mean you're naturally like this,
You do have a lot of energy. That's great.
and so I think part of it is sitting still with a book. It is just not in my nature.
Yeah. No, and you're right. We do read a lot on our, day to day in our jobs, whether it's research or writing briefs for products, or there's just a lot of reading and writing. So I get that.
Well, and it's funny. I do appreciate writing. I do appreciate a well-written and communicated message.
Yeah.
So it isn't in opposition to what the craft is about. I mean, there's always classics, from the days Monkey Wrench Gang and those kinds of things. Of course, they're iconic, right? But as an ongoing practice, I wouldn't say that by any means I'm a book reader.
Yeah, no, gotcha. So what is your favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100? That's going to be tricky for you because you've got a million to choose from.
It is. I don't know that I could classify a single item.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm in. This is what we do at Nite Ize. And I don't want to make it about Nite Ize. That's not it. What I would say is those types of products become so essential. That you can get more than one.
Right. So there's so many gadgets we have to travel with, and even out in the backcountry, some of your, wire tie things and all that stuff, just indispensable. Some of those things.
Well, I'm going to tell you a funny story. The gear tie product that we make, Pinnacle Twist tie.
Yeah, those are great.
So I've always carried them on the trips with the Steves, on the PCT, and we've guy out tents, or we'll put up the filtration system for filtering water or whatever. So anyway, I carry a pile of them. And then a couple of years ago, I had a boot delam on me, and we're about 16 miles back or so, and we had a pile to go. We were trying to do 60 for the week, and it was a great experience. And talk about these little things. It was a great experience because I stopped because I was afraid I was going to lose my entire soul on the boot. And so I yelled out to Mike McCarty, and he came back, and then Doug came back. And we did the classic outdoor experience where we laid all possibilities out.
Yep.
So, there's 100 years of experience between the four of us with Steve Gherkin and Doug and Mike. And so we had duct tape, and we had twine, and we had McCarty had shoe goo, but it had dried up. You know what I mean? Like we had all the stuff. And then all of a sudden, they're looking at me like, "Hey, Jan, I think you actually have the product that is going to solve the problem." And so sure enough, we rooted and tied gear tie like an exoskeleton around my boot.
Yeah.
And we proceeded I walked another 35 miles.
Wow, great.
Like that. We retied them every day.
Sure.
But I mean, it would have ruined our trip. I didn't have a secondary pair of shoes because we travel pretty light.
Right.
And it was funny.
Did you snap a photo? Did you do any training?
Did I ever? You know what? I'll share that with you because it was one of those things of like, wow, that's like Captain Obvious. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then every morning they would kind of cinch them down on me, and it became like, don't leave home without them.
Yeah. No, if you could email me that, I'll put that in the show notes. That's very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
That's awesome.
But really what I'm getting at, there's a lot of products under $100. And don't underestimate how much that will influence the outcome of an outdoor experience.
How many times has the smallest piece of gear had the biggest impact? Yeah, you're right.
I like hats and gloves a lot. I like little things, right?
Yeah.
Can really make a trip.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. And is there anything else you'd like to say or ask of our listeners as we go to wrap here?
I would say that the outdoor industry is certainly evolving and changing. We're changing with it. Right. It's a new group of folks. There's environmental and certainly challenges that we're faced with politically. We're looking at the industry changing and how people purchase.
Yeah.
There's no replacement for experience,
right.
and that's being out and doing it. Right.
Yeah.
And sharing it. Right. It's funny how much you can, when I look back on the people that have taken me out in the industry. I remember skiing with Scott Schmidt, and my first helicopter experience. I'm not a phenomenal skier, right? And because of the North Face, they got me on this helicopter, and boom, we drop off at the top. and I say, hey, Scott, just seconds before he splits, I said, you got any advice for me to get down from here? And just as he's coming off the precipice, right, he leans it over. He says, point the tips down, right? Keep the tips downhill. Yeah. and so with that, I'd say, you gotta get out and just experience it. And through doing, the activities, be it boating or cycling or backpacking or climbing, out of it comes what we share and what we take back to the office and to our lives, right? Yeah. And I think that's what I would put out there. Is like, I know we might all be good at something, but someone's better. They're always better. Mm-hmm.
Or they know a different trick or a tip. Exactly.
That's what it is. Yeah. So listen to them, and take it under your wing and then pass that on. Right. And I think that's really what I've gotten out of it. I mean, I remember I did the JanSport trip at Mount Rainier. Uh-huh. I didn't know what the arrangements were totally. And next thing I know, Skip's picking me up in his van, right? And it's like, wow, man, this Skip Yao,
Yeah.
And so, right. And so the whole time in the van, he's a regular guy. and he's talking about, hey, this is what you're going to experience and this and that. Man, I'm listening to every word and just hanging on it. Yeah. So recognize that, you get snippets of that from people all the time, and learn from them and cherish them and pass them on.
Yeah, that's great. And if people want to follow up with you, how can they reach out to you? Follow you on LinkedIn, or what's the best way?
Really through email. I certainly I'm in LinkedIn, but I don't get in that space too much. Yeah. And feel free, man. Anybody that's out there, and for those of you that might listen to this that have worked with me, I am more than generous because people have been very, very generous with me.
Exactly. That's great.
And when I didn't know when to turn or what to do, right? Yeah. They pass it on. So if you've got questions or how would you go about this, man, I'll certainly share what I know. I don't think I have the answer, but
it all pieces together, though. It all pieces together.
Keep trying.
Yeah, that's right. Trying. Yeah. Well, we'll put a link to your email in the show notes. And,
that'd be fine. Yeah, sure. Cool. Feel free anytime.
Yeah. Well, great, Jan. It's been great catching up with you. I look forward to seeing you at the show in summer. Always love catching up.
Well, I sure appreciate your willingness to, include me with all the amazing folks that you've connected with, and hats off to you for doing this. As I told you,
super
this
fun.
It's valuable to be able to share people's insights and stories, because you'll find, guess what, they're just trying to do it like you
exactly are. And it's just such a great industry. And I think my take is the show is like a big high school reunion twice a year, and then we kind of go dark.
Yes, it is.
So I'm hoping that this is a little piece of continuance of the show and the stories and the backslapping, and there's so many great folks and if anybody out there wants to be on the show, shoot me an email. I'm always looking for guests.
Absolutely. I mean, like I say, when I looked through, initially I was a little nervous, right? Because it's like, gosh, why would you have me on here? And then I said, oh, that person's there, and I work with them.
It's just a conversation.
It is. Yeah, that's right. Cool. So thank you so much. It was very kind of you, and I hope if for those of you that listened, maybe you picked up a nugget or two, and if not,
bunch of nuggets.
Reach out to me, and I'd always be glad to have a two-way conversation.
That's great. Well, thanks, Jan. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You as well. Right. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye now.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jan Greenspan. You can catch up with Jan by email at jgreenspan@niteize.com. Nite Ize is spelled Niteize. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/episode 92. Be sure to hit your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by WordPress. I've used WordPress to build a number of websites, including Stillwater's Consulting and the Outdoor Biz Podcast. There are a number of themes and plugins available both free and for purchase, enabling you to easily create the custom look and feel you want. If you're starting an online business, publishing a blog, and looking to take your online presence to the next level, visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get going today. With simple installation tools and thousands of themes to choose from, you'll be up and running in no time. Go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/WordPress and get your site launched today. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure and go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you'll find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Thanks for listening, and until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.